Everyone has a story to tell. Welcome to DingoTalk, where we explore the experiences that make us who we are. Here's your host, Carlo Guadagnino.
What's going on, Chuckleheads? I am Carlo Guadagnino. This is DingoTalk. My guest this week is the head football coach at Denison University, Coach Jack Hatem. Before we get into Coach Hatem's story, let's tell you a little bit about Denison. It's located in Granville, Ohio. It has about 2,400 students. They have a 17% acceptance rate and a 77% grad rate. That's $92,000 and some change before aid. It drops all the way down to $42,000 after aid. Their top three majors are econ, communication, and biological science. Now, Coach Hatem, going into his 21st season coaching, he's been at Denison for a long time. He's seen this Big Red program through ups and downs. And it's not my job to tell you Coach Hatem's story and Denison's story. It's his job. So without further ado, this is Coach Hatem. What's going on, Chuckleheads? I am Carlo Guadagnino. This is Dingo Talk. My guest this week is the head football coach at Denison University, Coach Jack Hatem. Coach, thank you for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely, Coach. We're going to do this the same way we do every week. Obviously, I want to learn about the Denison football program, but before we get there, we got to learn how you got to Denison. So let's take you back. 1978, how do you find yourself at Rio Grande?
Oh, my goodness. Crazy. Mostly a football, baseball kid. And, whatever was going on in life, ended up having an opportunity there to go and be an assistant coach at a really, really young age and get my bachelor's degree, which was important. That's how I had a pretty good high school baseball career. So it all worked out.
Now, what is it like stepping in at a younger age to coaching?
It's really interesting. I did live that. I lived in a situation where I'm coaching guys that are my age or older. Like I'm coaching Rod Rand. I got a guy that's, out of the Air Force that's older than me on the squad, So anyway, it is interesting, to try to earn that respect when you're their age. And, I had some great mentors in that process, as to how to be professional and how to maintain those professional lines.
And so from the jump, this was the career path. You wanted to get into coaching. You wanted to be eventually be a head coach somewhere.
Yeah, I think it was absolutely the career path. I just I was the kid. Like I loved it. I loved everything. No matter whatever season it was, that's what I loved. And I knew that was the path. It's kind of crazy. I was in an English class. I'm like a junior in high school, and we have a writing thing we're supposed to be doing. And I'm a pretty good student, and I'm not really working on it. The teacher, who's one of my favorites, says, "Well, what are you doing?" I'm like, "I don't know." And she said, "Oh, that's crazy. I always thought you would be a coach. You love sports so much." And so kind of crazy. And and it hasn't changed. I love it. Doesn't matter from talking about, third down to punt team. It just doesn't matter. And baseball. Like I was crazy last night, hoping we were going to get in this World Baseball Classic. What the heck? So knew from early age it's what I wanted to do.
And the Pisons, they helped us out. They really
they did help us out last night. Yeah, they're kind of fun. They got an espresso machine in the dugout. They're having fun playing baseball, right?
I love it. I love as a Pirates fan, for a while there was they had a pirate sword that if you hit a home run, they would do their thing. I kind of like the thought of espresso.
Yeah.
That's unique.
How about that?
Coach, talk to us about 4 years at Rio Grande. They had, why high school first?
Yeah, I think first of all, partly missing football.
Mm-hmm.
Partly really missing football. Not sure what to do. At the end of that time, got married, had a baby on the way. And trying to figure out life and what that looked like. So then, just had some unbelievably great opportunities through high school, coaching football and baseball both.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, what is the talk about the difference in the time that you have to? Because football and baseball are there is a season in between. You get kind of the winter
Right.
season, but what is
Right.
time management there when you're, because baseball in the summertime could run into football,
Yeah.
especially at the high school level. So how was that?
Yeah, it was tough, I mean, it was a lot of work. I guess the thing at the high school level that you don't have is you don't have the recruiting,
Hmm.
so you're a teacher all day and you're coaching after school, and it's crazy because you're still putting in a ton of hours. It's not any less important to you, but you don't have the recruiting piece, so that makes it work. I think the summers were pretty good because I could do the strength training and the things that we needed to do in the mornings, and then most of the baseball games were in the evening,
Oh,
so yeah, yeah, so it was awesome.
now between and I want to make sure I get these right. Between Bishop Watterson,
Hmm.
Fisher Catholic, Highland High School, and New Albany, were you doing the football and the baseball for both?
No, I wasn't doing the football and baseball both. I did not do football and baseball at Watterson. I was well, no, that's not true. I did. I did do football, baseball, both. So the one I didn't was New Albany. At
Okay.
New Albany, I was just football. So I
And
was not football, baseball at New Albany.
so you spend from 98 to 04 there, and then
Yeah.
you find yourself not in the same position that you're in, but you find yourself at Denison. How?
Yeah. Yeah, just met met the previous head coach and his wife, and um he convinced me to come on, and the school's a great fit for me, and I think I always knew that. I think you can tell from the background, like I'm a Catholic school kid, and coached in several Catholic schools throughout my journey, and Denison was just like, school's really really important there. you know Sports are really important too, but school's really important, so it's just the perfect fit for me, and I'm really glad I took the opportunity when it was offered. So
Is that
yeah.
one of the factors that has kept you there? What we're going on now will be year 20.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. It really is. I really love what we do. I really love, the Division III level of athletics, and I love what we do at Denison, which is, we're trying to develop, young men. We want them to walk out the door with their chest out and shoulders back and a great education under their belt. And in this situation, you can do that. Doesn't mean I want to win any less. I think we're going to win every single Saturday, and I think I wake up 3 nights a week dreaming about the Hope game. They're really good. By the way, my wife thinks I'm crazy. She's like, why are we playing them? I just want to play teams that we know we can beat. And I'm like, well, that's not this team. They're really good. So anyway, but yeah, so I really do love that. I love the Division III athletics and what it brings and the development of the whole kid. Not that that's not happening, in a lot of other programs. You watch and listen to a lot of great Division I coaches that are probably doing that, but at this level, it's really like the main purpose, and I really do like that. Yeah.
Coach, let's talk about the differences in the interview process. So when you first get to Denison, you're interviewing as a position coach. My guess
Right.
is you got to know nuts and bolts, everything X's and O's
Yeah.
versus
Yeah, it is dramatically different, as you just alluded to. If you're hiring a linebacker coach, a DB coach, or whatever, of course you want to hire a really good person, and you try to sort through that. But the X's and O's, the techniques are really really important. Fast forward, you're interviewing for the head coaching job, and it seems like you interview with everybody. Their two most important alumni, board of trustees, president of the university, provost, athletic, everybody. Seems like you meet with everybody. And then all of a sudden in that interview, the whole vision becomes a big deal. Your vision of everything, and you being really essentially the football CEO for this community, which includes thousands of alums and your team and everybody. So it's dramatically different. And the time commitment in the interview is different too. Most head coaching jobs, you're probably there at least a whole day. It probably included two meals, with different important people in the interview process, so yeah, dramatically different.
when I'm guessing that from the other coaches I've talked to, that conversation is less X's and O's more
Yeah.
the fundraising, the recruitment, the
Yeah,
community
absolutely.
outreach, et cetera, correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Now, before we go any further, talk to us about Denison. You've touched on it a little bit, but now that we ran through that resume pretty quickly, let's talk about what is a Denison man.
It's a young man. It's a young man that comes from a family where education's important. You know, um, it's really important to most of our families that their young man is in a great situation. They're going to walk out, you know, more developed in the man into the man they want to be. And I'm just going to say, like, we're a pretty good for a high academic school. We're a pretty good sports school, like our baseball team's in the World Series last year. Our swim team thinks they're going to win the national title. Our women's basketball team's playing the Sweet 16 tomorrow. It's a good sports school. So it doesn't diminish that at Denison, which I really appreciate. And it starts at the top. Like our president is the real deal. Like, and he's a big time sports kid. I don't know if you're a hockey guy at all, but the Hughes boys, Quinn and Jack Hughes, who scored the 2 winning goals, those are his nephews. So those are his sister's kids. So his sister's on the coaching staff for Team USA women's hockey. And then that's his 2 nephews. And then Luke, the youngest one, we think's probably going to make the Olympic squad next time. So we're dealing with a president that, first of all, really believes in the high academic side. You have to at a school like this, but he believes you can have that and still win, and still be a great, athletic team, so that makes it all work. And those are the kids we attract. Those are the families we attract.
Now, what is it like to have an administration behind you? Because we've talked with coaches that as they've gone through their career, some administrations, we're not a sports school. We're here to get a degree. Seems like the coaches that I've talked to so far this season, it seems to have a lot of balance between we are an academic school, but we also win. So what is it like having the administration behind you?
It means the world. I mean, it means the world. Like they're completely leading that institution, with the board of trustees. And when you have the people at that level that, I think one of the big transitions in the world has been that you can do that. You can be a man that's a really, really highly educated, school's important, and you can still be a great competitor, and when you have that, in the lead at your university, you have a chance to put together, that kind of a program at a high academic school.
Well, and especially it's got to be nice with you guys play in a heck of a conference. It doesn't.
Yeah.
I mean, you mentioned Hope, who's a non-conference game, but we're not even talking about the DePaul, the John Carrolls now, and all that. And we'll get.
And now we have WashU this year joining as affiliate member, and they're no joke. They're good. Well, so it's a real tough conference now.
Let's talk about that. So last year it was the addition of John Carroll, and from the outside looking in, it seemed that it was that they brought a little bit of a different style of football to the
definitely
top to bottom. I mean, it seemed like they just played a different style of game. What was your experience with them coming into the conference this year?
Yeah, we knew. I mean, all the I don't know if everybody. I think everybody in the football world knew. It's like, oh wow, maybe these guys haven't beaten them out every single year, but they're really good. They're top of the food chain, and they really are. They really are, like, really talented coaches. Well, their coach just left and took the Bucknell job. Like really talented coaches, really talented roster. So they bring a whole different vibe for sure. They had a bunch of grad transfers. That's been a little bit different for our conference. We haven't had teams that had a lot of that. And they did, so all of a sudden, but it's exciting. Like, all of a sudden, like our kids love it. That's the game we want to play in. They jokingly tease our one safety because the wide receiver, of course, Montgomery, who's a little bit older, and a great athlete. He caught a ball in the third quarter to really was the breakaway play in the game where they kind of took over for sure, completely took over the game. and they caught a ball on our freshman safety who had just turned 18. So it's like, okay, well, but yeah, they brought a different vibe, and they're good. They're really good. Good
And,
coaches, good program. Like, they're legit.
and Wash U, obviously, it's going to be a very similar kind of not similar in the sense that they play the same style of football that John Carroll does, but
Right.
coming from the CCIW,
Mm-hmm.
and having to play the likes of North Central and Wheaton and Augustana and the Carrolls of the world. What do you expect to see from that team as an affiliate member in the conference?
Yeah, really talented athletes, really well coached. And like you said, gritty. They've played the best of the best. They've played really, really top-notch competition. So, it's exciting. It's exciting to have them coming in and like we're talking about me scheduling Hope. Like, we want to play good people. We want to play good football games on Saturday, and it's exciting to prepare for. And those are the games we want to play in. So we're excited about it.
Now, Coach, how much as we are now in this MPI world, how much, or when you're building the non-con side of the schedule, how much are you paying attention to where the meters move and what counts and what doesn't count? Because I'm gonna be honest with you, I've spent a year now, 2 years now, trying to. And there's a bunch of great people out there that do. Logan Hansen does a great job of kind of making it a little easier for us that aren't mathematically inclined.
Right.
Are you guys paying attention to the MPI as much, or is it the win and it doesn't matter?
I guess up to this point, I've more paid attention to like wanting that high caliber game, as as the program has developed, over the years, as the program has developed, that was one of the goals. One of the goals was to get to the point where we're not afraid to fly to Oregon and open with Linfield. We're not afraid to, schedule Alma. We're not afraid to schedule Hope. We want to play in those games. Now, my young assistant coaches are trying to push me really hard to pay more attention to NPI, which I should, but leading up to this, that has not been the thought. The thought has been, this program is to the point now where we want to schedule, we're not going to wait and schedule somebody we think we, have a higher chance of beating. We want to play good people. We want to play the best teams. And so that's really been the thought process for me.
Now, and I know you answered this when I asked you the Denison, what is a Denison man? My question is, put us in the room as you're recruiting. What are we looking for, minus the, obviously, kid's got to be able to play football, because you wouldn't be recruiting him if he wasn't a football player. But that part aside, what are you looking for when you're adding a body to that locker room?
Yeah, the whole conversation tries, for me, you try to lead down the path. Like, is this young man a good fit academically for us? Is he going to be able to make it? You try to get a feel for, through the conversation with him, and parents usually are all in the room, and probably the coach also, if this is a high character kid that's going to come in and really add to our culture. And then just kind of like, if they fit, there are some kids you're talking to and you're like, man, this kid is just like our guys. He's going to be a great fit here, and I love being able to feel that way and express that, and a lot of it has to do with, I think, I don't know, maybe what they're looking for, in that journey. So in that conversation, you're trying to figure that out.
Now, you touched on a good point when we were talking about the newest members of the NCAC. My question is for you, the transfer portal, not a big thing for your conference. Your conference is kind of it not as many. That's not what you guys are looking to fill your rosters. You're still following that old model, the what I think is still the model that needs to be followed, which is 18-year-old comes in, you got him for 4 years, you're setting him up for 40 years, not year-old kid. I didn't have a good time. Maybe I could come down here and blah blah blah. When do you when are you guys looking in the transfer portal? Is that somebody you recruited that maybe went down the road to a D1 or a D2 and didn't work out?
That's been mostly, if we've had that happen for us, that's been mostly what's happened. It's somebody that we recruited. We were probably pretty close with them in the process. made a different choice. It's not working out for them. And then all of a sudden, there's the renewed interest in us, and we've had some success with kids that happening and kids coming back to us. In 2019 we had a running back that was semifinalist for the Gallardi Award, and that was him. He had he's from Pittsburgh. He made another choice, wasn't working out for him that well, and he ends up coming back to us, and it worked out fantastic, of course, for him and us. So he's a doctor now, so I think it worked out pretty well.
Right.
So he's doing well, right?
I would say so.
But yeah, that's pretty insightful. That's mostly the kids that want to talk to us. Yeah.
And then, would you say, as a coach that's tapped in with the division, has the NIL bubble kind of made its way down to the Division III level?
I think it's starting to show up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It hasn't showed up for us. I think it will. I do think it will show up. I don't think we'll ever see the kind of money we're seeing at Ohio State or Texas or Oregon or any place like that. But but I do think it's going to show up, and I think probably sooner rather than later.
And Coach, it's interesting you brought up Ohio State. I personally, I don't have a dog in the fight between Ohio State and Michigan, but as I'm looking down here at your resume, you do have a dog in that fight. Why was Ohio State where you chose to get your master's degree?
Well, it was Ohio.
Oh,
yeah, I got it at Ohio University.
Well, good.
Yeah. The only reason that's okay. The only reason I have any tie to them at all is just kids and friends. Because you're an Ohio guy, so you're watching all these kids play, and it's all okay. So I've seen this kid play twice, and now he's playing for Ohio State. I have a couple friends on the staff, of course. I did message Ryan Day and tell him happy birthday today, so anyway, there you go. They've started practice, so I'm sure he doesn't care about that. So yeah, if I don't really have a dog in the hunt, but if I do, it's just the natural Ohio connection to them through people. Yeah.
Now, let's talk about 2025 before we get into the tech and everything else that's come down the ways here. 6-4 overall, 5-3 in the conference. What was your takeaway now that the 2025 is in the rear view and we're looking forward to 26? What was the takeaway from the 25 season?
Yeah, we're a really good football team playing a tough schedule. If you do the overall regular season schedule, the 4 teams we lost to, it's Alma, DePaul, Wabash, it's, the 4 teams we lost to are all really, really good football teams and, with great records. And we were a good football team. I really liked our team a lot last year. Our quarterback's young. He can really spin it. Like he had a fantastic year. We were a little bit young in the secondary, which I think showed up, which, in 2025, we're a little bit young in the secondary. We'll be much older in the secondary this year, which is exciting, but man, we were a good football team. We were fun. I mean, we played really tough football. And like I said, we were right in the thick of it for sure.
If I remember, and if I'm making a mistake, wasn't your game with DePaul, wasn't that one heck of a
it was one heck of a game.
It was a hell of a club match.
Oh my God. We caught a ball late and our kids called out of bounds. Grayson, the leading receiver, catches a ball, he's called out of bounds. It's really close, and if that's inbounds, not out of bounds, like we're going for 2, and we have a shot to win the game right there at the end of the game. So it was a great match, but that's turned into a decent little rivalry. They're one of the teams in the conference that we do recruit against a little bit. Okay. There's some similarities between the school. I guess the other thing is, one of my younger coaches left a handful of years ago to become their D coordinator, and their current offense coordinator, I hired him in his first job. So he coached for us for a while. So there's the connectivity between these guys that have coached for me that have coached then at DePaul. And, but yeah, it's a great game, man. The kids play really hard in that game, and yeah, that's a fun one.
Now, because we're in spring, because I'm going to come back to that game. I have a question about the tech coming, or that is here. But because in the spring, I have a question for you. You've seen kind of the progression of where spring ball was
Mm-hmm.
20 years ago to where it is now.
Right.
At one time, it was tennis balls if you were lucky,
Yeah.
no
Yeah. If
football.
you're lucky,
Then
no
it was
footballs.
helmets and footballs, and now we get a couple padded days a week out of the thing. Would
Yeah.
you like to see more of a parallel between Division III spring ball and the D2 D1? Not necessarily asking if you want a spring game, so to speak. I don't think your guys are going to go and try to sell out a stadium or sell out the
Right.
stadium for a spring
Right.
game. But not being able to practice your sport, is that something you would like to see kind of evolve?
I would. And, one of the things, and it's not from this meathead, I want to tackle each other every day kind of a standard, I love that, but it's not that. For me, like the thing that's really hard for football kids that I think is harder than a lot of other sports is, come on, man, they work really hard. There's a lot of morning training sessions and they just march through the fires of hell for us. And there's very, very limited opportunities to play.
Mhm.
And the sport is so finite. Our senior day, I'm sure mimics a lot of other Division III senior days. Like it's unbelievably emotional because we have parents, kids, my wife who knows like they're turning in their shoulder pads and helmet and they're done.
Right.
And there's just such limited opportunity for them to play. It's just that. I don't think we can probably expand the playoffs more because of you can only play this sport once a week, and I know that, but I wish there were more bowl opportunities and just more chance for them to play. They work so hard at it, and the opportunities are so limited, and our spring right now is really limited.
Right.
So I just want them to get to play more, man.
Well, it's interesting you say that. I've talked to a couple of different coaches who we get a 50-50 on this on the playoff. I've had some coaches say that 40 is the number.
Yeah.
If you're 41, it's tough. Sorry, but that's the way we're going to do it. I've heard some murmurs that there's still a group there that maybe we'd like to see it get to 44, maybe 45.
Right.
You're
Yeah.
saying it.
My thing, and that would be great. My thing, I understand the limitation of only being able to play once a week. I get that. Like our women's basketball team is going to play Friday. If they win, they're going to play again Saturday. Well, that can't happen in football, and I know that. But I am about opportunities to play. So the more opportunities, if our leadership at our schools and our, in Division III feel like we can add more teams, absolutely. Like I said, I think there's just such limited opportunities for these young men with all the work they put in to participate in the sport they really love to play.
And do you think with the the Isthmus Bowl, you have I know the PAC and the OAC have kind of a bowl series.
Yeah.
Do you think we're going to see more of that as things?
I think so. I hope so. So we're involved in that bowl series with us, OAC, PAC, and the HCAC. We're all involved in that. So there's 4 teams. Then we match up and play in Canton. And we have not played in it, but talking to Wabash's guys, they absolutely loved it. Their kids loved playing in it. And it's another opportunity to play.
Right.
And like I said, sometimes football kids don't get as many of those opportunities. People watch the SEC on TV and Notre Dame and Ohio State, and they think that's everybody, and it's not. You have kids that play a long time, and they don't get that. So, like I said, the more chances for them to play ball, I think the better.
Now, Coach, with the let's go to the technology side of things.
Okay.
iPads have come down. I know. I think the ruling is you're allowed to have 18. I will tell you this: I have yet to find a Division III program that is utilizing all 18 iPads. I don't imagine you guys are using 18 on the sideline. But how did the iPads help this year with being able to diagnose where somebody came through on a gap, who maybe missed an assignment here, or no, we really like this, try to redo this? Was that helpful?
Oh, yeah, it's really helpful. It's really helpful because all of a sudden now your O-line coach is sitting there with an iPad, since you alluded to not picking somebody up, your O-line coach is sitting there with an iPad, and showing them the front and showing them the blitz. And here's what happened in that pass protection. And it's really helpful, So, yeah, I think it's a good addition. I think it's a great addition. I really like it. And I'm not the greatest technology guy in the world. I have to really count on my young guys to really be on top of that. But yeah, I think it's a great addition. It's really nice. And it's good for the players too.
Now,
They can actually see it.
good.
Yeah.
Now the other side of that was you talked about making sure that we don't take any of the opportunities away from these guys that only get a guarantee of 40 games, and then you're probably done. I mean, COVID years are done.
Right.
Short of an injury, and then you're losing that season, so you're still 40. My question for the iPads is, do you think that leads to more conferences going to instant replay capabilities? And the instant replay capabilities, and I'll use your conference as an example for one of them, and I'll use the broader one that I've used. The broader one is we have a call. We have a call that I think it drives every coach nuts, especially I'm a defensive guy. It drives me nuts every time I see it. Target it. I love the idea of the rule. We want to keep everybody safe.
Right.
If it's not egregious, I don't think that we should be costing a kid 4 quarters of one of those 40 games.
Agreed.
On the same side of that, and the one that I used for your conference, it came in a playoff game. Coach Dietz probably remembers it quite well, because if replay is involved, they probably win a game in the playoffs 2 years ago, and go on a run. Now Johns Hopkins ends up winning that game. They go on their run. Do you think that we're heading there now that the technology is really starting to trickle down? I mean, we're getting the in-helmet communications, the iPads are on the sideline. And how hard would it be to have a representative, maybe a conference representative, that stands at a tent and that's what they are? They're the replay iPad person.
Yeah, I think the problem for us at our level and a lot of things that we talk about does end up being resources. Are you as a program, as a university, and then as a conference resourced at a high enough level to do all the things you need to do, to make this a viable option? I do think we're probably headed down that path to where we're gonna see it. Yeah.
Well, and I guess even more, if we go back to the last year's DePaul Denison game, would you have used a challenge on that one?
Oh, absolutely. We still think he's inbounds. But so absolutely we would have. Now I think I hope I'm not speaking out wrongly here, but I think the OAC used it.
The OAC, so
yeah.
The conferences that I know used instant replay this year was the Centennial,
right?
The Northwest Conference, because we had Coach Smith on and he talked about they had 5 challenges and he won 4 of them. And last week we had Coach Burke on from Wilmington, and he pointed out that he didn't use one at the beginning of the year that would have definitely been a good one, and he did use one at the end of the year. So it is starting to trickle down.
It's starting to trickle down.
Do you think we ever get to a point where it's blanket, or is it still going to stay conference by conference? As you said, do you have the resources to do it?
Yeah, I think that's the challenge with a lot of this stuff. The resources to have a more active spring ball, the resources for all the technology and the technology that's coming down. That's really always been, a little bit of the issue in D3, the resources that you have available,
Right.
And I think that's the real issue.
Now, the other side of the technology piece, are you excited to be able to communicate with your one captain on the offensive side of the ball, one captain on the defensive side of the ball?
I am excited about it. I think it's fun. I do like it. We're still trying to sort through all that in our conference. We just had a Zoom with all of our head coaches a week or so ago, and we're still trying to sort through how we're going to do it. But yeah, I'm excited about it. I'll be honest. My offensive coordinator is way more excited about it than my defensive coordinator. I don't, for all kinds of reasons, but yeah, and the thing I love about it is then all of a sudden there's like new thought processes, so, okay, instead of being at the line of scrimmage and looking at it and calling it, we're just going to stay in the huddle with 15 seconds, rush to the line and play. There's all kinds of things to think about with it, but yeah, I'm excited about it.
Now, that won't be, I assume that's not the last piece of technology that we'll see. I mean, I don't know
No, it won't be.
what's on the wave next. Are we gonna have
Yeah.
the lines coming across the field during
Yeah.
flow?
Who knows? Who knows?
Now,
Right.
Coach, what are you most excited about with this group, the 2026 group, as we get into the spring ball season?
I'm going to tell you, these guys have been just outrageously conscientious and amazing. Like our training with our strength coaches right now couldn't be going better. Like they're doing a great job. I think the leadership in our two older classes is just through the roof with these guys.
Mhm.
And there's some really good players there. We have almost our entire defense back, which is exciting. We have a really good group of O linemen coming back. So it's an exciting group. But I think what I'm most excited about is just like who they are. Like it's really a big deal. Like they're training really hard and they're really conscientious and excited about football. They like football, you know. They like football. And that's me. I'm truly like joyful to go to practice every day. My friends that I grew up with say I was like the kid from Sandlot. Like I had, all the helmets in a bag and I had, footballs and baseball equipment and I had everything. And I'm still like that. But this group is like that. They like it. They like ball and they're doing a great job in the training. I think that's the most exciting thing. Having most everybody back on defense is exciting too. But
I was gonna say
yeah, that's pretty exciting too. Yeah.
now, Coach, what is the 2026 schedule look like? You've mentioned Hope. Who else?
Yeah, I mean, we open with Pope, and then throughout the conference, as DePaul, Wabash, John Carroll, you know, um, right down the line, and there's other good teams. Like, oh my goodness, like so, you're not even going to mention Wittenberg and Worcester and OU. Like, there's a lot of good teams, so we're really excited about it. Really excited about it. We're going to Wash U, so it's 500 miles. So we're trying to figure out the trip right now. Um, but yeah, just super excited about the season coming in and this team. And um, yeah,
Now, that'll be a flight, or is that possibly getting on a bus and
yeah, we haven't really decided yet. I'm kind of mad at our basketball coach because he's played out there twice and driven both times. It's like, man, Chris, you're killing me.
you
So
know
we're
what?
trying to, yeah, we're trying to figure all that out if we do drive. I'm not sure. I haven't talked to them yet. I don't know what they're going to do because they're going to have a lot of trips.
Right.
Now that they're playing all of us, and they're going to have a lot of trips. For us, it's one trip every other year. Um, but we haven't sorted through that yet. We thought about the flight thing, and then we thought about a little bit of the planning. If we do drive this,
Mhm.
what's that going to look like for us? Because we want to make sure, like I said, like everybody, our guys work really hard. I'm
Right.
not going to try to put them at a disadvantage. If we're going to play, we're going to put them in the best situation we can. So we're trying to figure all that out right now.
Now, Coach, I did put some feelers out there to some other D3 people,
Mm-hmm.
and they have sent me. There was a list of questions for all the coaches that were going to join Dingo Talk this year. So I'm going to
Okay.
pick three of them, and we're going to
Okay.
let's go program growth over the last several years. Denison has become one of the premier programs in the NCAC. What were the most important steps to building that level of consistency?
Yeah, I think really getting good or better, I won't say good, getting better at recruiting Denison.
Mhm.
Every school has its unique niche. So I tell our coaches all the time, we need to make sure we're fishing in the right pond. And I think we've gotten better and better at that, which has allowed us to bring in, really top student athletes. Now it's a stretch. We have to go from Connecticut to San Francisco to make that happen, but I think we've gotten better at it.
Do you have is it win the backyard and then a national recruiting as well, or is there a
Yeah, it's
specific?
interesting, for us, it is we feel like we can recruit nationally, but of course, like everybody, we have pockets, like our roster's typically about 25 to 27% Ohio. We're always hot Chicago North Shore. We're always hot from Boston up to like New Canaan and Darien, Connecticut. So we have spots where we really, really succeed at a high level. Um, all of a sudden we've gotten hot in Charlotte, which is not a bad thing, so um,
Now,
so we really do feel like it can be national.
how do you recruit a guy from, let's say, let's use Charlotte
Mhm.
or San Francisco? You brought up San Francisco.
Yeah, we have a couple kids from San Francisco.
How do you recruit them to Denison when it could be a drastic weather change, right, for them?
Yeah, that's always tough. If they show up from a warm weather spot, I'm hoping it's not too miserable when they get there. You know, yeah, are you really willing to do this to move somewhere where it might be negative 3 degrees on your visit?
Right,
So
right. Another question was about the leadership in the locker room. How do you develop leadership within your team, and what have the best Denison captains done that made them special leaders for you?
yeah, that's a great question. I think from a development of captain standpoint, that is a great question, and I think we all work at that all the time. I try to start, you know, even younger in the program with our kids.
Mhm.
I do weekly dinners with different leadership groups and different position groups, and you know, um, and try to push them forward. This is a crazy thing. I'll never forget this. When I started coaching my old high school coach told me, like, you can really get what you want as a coach, but you have to be willing to make sure they know what it is. So you have to pedestal the right kid. You
Right.
know, when we've had our best captains, they were high character, high achiever kids in every area of their life, and they were also our better players.
Mm.
When your better players are those guys, you have a shot,
Right.
And when we've been good, like our 2018 team was really good. I talked about the running back who's now a doctor. I mean, come on, like this dude is, you had to slow him down at practice, and but when you're really good, I think you have those high character, high achieving kids that are also your best players, and then the team's really responding to them.
Right. Now, this one came from he's now the defensive coordinator at Christopher Newport. He was at John.
Okay.
And he asked if a player was talking about you to a recruit or to family, what would you hope their message is about you?
I would hope their message is that I really want the best for them and their future, but I'm going to hold them accountable to that, and I'm not going to be shy about it. And but I don't know if too many guys in coaching say I love you more to their players than I do, and I really honestly mean that. But I would hope it's like he really cares about you and your future, um, and he's going to love you through it, but he's not going to be afraid to hold you accountable to it.
Right. Which is what you
Yeah.
need. I mean, like you've pointed out a couple of times that it's we're preparing you. It's 4 years, and
Yeah.
we want you to be set up to be the doctor, to be the CEO.
Yeah.
We want to
Yeah.
set you up to be the best version of yourself.
Absolutely.
And accountability is a big part of that. I mean, so you need
Yeah.
someone to hold, especially 18 to 22.
Yeah.
We're all there. We know you
Yep.
need that.
Yeah. There's going to be mistakes. There's going to be mistakes, and that's okay.
Right.
That's okay.
Now,
Yeah.
this one, we ask everybody, what is the significance for you of Division III?
I think what we've been talking about the whole time, the significance of Division III is you can coach and do it the right way. Like if I need to hold my best tight end accountable and he needs to sit out the first quarter, the first half of the game, then so be it.
Right.
I'm going to be able to do what we're going to be able to, as a coaching staff, make the choices we need to make that come true. To work as hard as we can to make that come true. Setting them up for the next 40 years of their life, which part of that's the education. Part of that's just the dude that walks out of the building,
Right.
when they graduate. Part of it's that, a big part of it. And I think at this level, you can really, really do that. That's what I appreciate.
What would you say to young coaches, the coaches that they're maybe going to be, they are going to be walking across the stage here come May, and they're looking to get into the field? One, would you advise them to stay where they are and maybe coach under a coach that they're familiar with? Or is it, spread your wings and maybe go learn? You've learned my style of football. Go learn from a different coach.
Yeah, I think there's advantages to both. Of course, there's advantages to being where you know, but I do think it's important in your journey to stretch. I think it's important in your journey to stretch, like learn from somebody else, learn their tactics, learn their way, learn their verbiage, get a feel for that. And if you have several things like that to pull from, that's really helpful. And hopefully, if you love it, like you're starving,
Right.
You're watching, everything from Duke's women's basketball coach and what she's talking about to Steve Kerr to the World Baseball Classic. And is it really okay for them to have, coffee in the dugout? You're just watching everything, but I do think it's important to stretch at some point. I think it's real nice. In our game, it's not bad if you can do it, to coach several different positions too. I think you learn a lot.
Right.
I think you learn a lot if you get to coach some different spots.
And then what we do now with you, Coach, this is the football talk. Well, I have one more, but then after this question, football talk's gone. It's just you. Got fast five.
Okay. Okay.
My last question for you is, what's the message to the Denison alumni for 2026?
Man, you're going to be excited about this team. These guys are working real hard. And I can promise you, when you show up to see these guys play, they're going to play as hard as they can possibly play every Saturday. And they're going to be a fun team to watch because they're going to bring it, just like our alumni expect.
Right. All right, Coach. If you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be?
Oh, man. Man. I haven't visited Italy yet. I'm getting to visit this summer, so I can't pick anywhere there. I can't pick Venice or Rome or Florence. I can't do that yet. Maybe at the end. But as of now, I would pick San Diego.
Okay. I have a buddy that helps out with this show. I think he would agree with you.
There you
go. What's the most important lesson that you've learned thus far throughout your career?
To just honor and respect them all. Not everybody's going to win the Heisman Trophy, and they all have grandparents and parents, and they all have a journey that they're on, and respect them all.
Right.
Yeah.
Coach, if you weren't coaching, what would you be doing?
Man, I think I'm a country western singer. I think our children would not agree with that, but doesn't mean I don't try.
It's good to have a hobby.
It's good to have dreams, right?
Right.
I would love to play shortstop in Major League Baseball, but I think,
well,
nobody be the country western stars anymore realistic.
The Pirates may be looking come
yeah,
June.
Right.
We might be able to get you in touch with the Nuttings.
Yeah, there we go.
What is the best compliment you've ever received?
This is crazy, and you certainly don't do names here, but throughout your career, you have kids that for whatever reason you feel like you were really hard on them. You feel like you're really hard on them, and they maybe deservedly so, whatever, but you feel like you're really hard on them. So I had 2 summers ago when my phone rang, and and I heard that voice on the other end, and he was really excited to talk to me and tell me how much the program meant to him, and how well he was doing at this point. At that point, he just got married. They were pregnant with their first kid. He had a great job, and just that, like how important it was and how meaningful it was, for him to get where he was now, because we had some hard moments. Right. I benched him a couple of times, and we had some hard moments. So that was probably one of the best.
And then on the other side of compliments, best insult you've ever gotten.
Yeah. Like all this, I've had some moms and dads not very happy about me and our decisions and their kid not playing, and, and in that process, maybe being too hard on him. And, and those are hard, those are hard to swallow, and but it's part of our journey. It's part of our life, and they do happen for sure.
And then the last question I ask everybody, was there a question you were expecting me to ask you? And if so, how would you have answered it?
Oh, man, I don't know. I don't think so. I don't know.
It makes me feel good. Makes
sense. Yeah, I don't think so. No.
When the editor watches this, this is the question. She's looking for, well, you didn't ask him that.
You didn't ask him that. He said, you should have asked me this one. No, I don't know. Yeah. Yeah. So you're a Pittsburgh guy.
I'm born and raised. Born and
Yeah.
raised.
Pirates, Steelers. Yeah.
Penguins play tonight at 10 o'clock. It's gonna be a late
Penguins.
night and
Yeah.
an early morning.
There we go. There we go. Awesome. Awesome.
Well, Coach, I want to say thank you very much for taking the time.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Best of luck in 2026. Hopefully,
thank you.
Keep in touch, and we're talking come December and January about you guys looking for other travel arrangements. So
that's right. There we go. There we go.
And for you guys, you know what comes next. We'll be right back.
Thanks for checking out this episode of Dingo Talk. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. For more info and to contact the show, you can find us on Twitter @DingoTalk.